everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus Dominion painting tutorial, and today we are painting some Stormcast Eternals. We are painting the Vindictors. And today, we're not going to be painting them as Hammers of Sigmar. No, we're going to be painting them as Celestial Vindicators. It's a really gorgeous scheme, and I've wanted to do it for a long time, so I'm just going to do it for the Dominion set. I'm only painting the 5, the other 5 Vindictors are being kept aside to do the other Stormhosts, so don't you worry if Celestial Vindicators aren't your thing. A video for them, any of the other Stormhosts, will be coming your way very soon. So, without further ado, they've been primed in grey Seer, and we're going to be painting 5 of them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the prime here, but then when we get to it, we're also going to paint the banner as well. So don't worry, we are going to cover those unique details, including things like any bear heads and the like. But for now, we're just going to focus on her. So, the first colour we're going to be using is Akhelian Green. And, well, we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to load up our brush. We don't want too much paint. We want just enough so it's wet, but not forming a drip. What we want to do is we want to start painting this Akhelian Green all over the top of all of her armour. Just like this. Getting a lovely smooth coat. Using these nice big broad brush strokes to make sure we get it done exactly how we want it. I'm just using the tip of the brush to just glide across the surface of the model very gently. Just like this. So with that done, you should have some Akhelian Green armour that looks somewhat like this. And whilst this looks really good, what we now want to do is darken it down just that a little bit more. But rather than do a full layer of Akhelian Green over the top, which will make it too dark for us, what we're going to do is we're going to actually just kind of make a sort of contrasty-esque glaze. And the colour we're going to be using is Akhelian Green, but we're going to be mixing it down with about 5 or 6 parts of contrast medium. I've gone with 6 parts, so it's a 6:1 contrast medium Akhelian Green mix. And essentially, all we want to do is we just want to start painting this over the top. Just like this. Because it's nice and thin, you can go reasonably quickly, but just because one thing to watch out for is that because it is so thin, it's very easy for it to get out of control. So just be careful with how much you have on your brush. You don't want to now create like a large dark pool. That would be somewhat disastrous. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is going to highlight the armour with some Temple Guard Blue. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Baharroth Blue. I'm going to use this as a little spot highlight, so we just want to pick out areas like the rivets and things, as well as the sharpest corners on the armor panels. Just like this, just to give it that impression of the light catching off of those select areas. And so with that done, you should have some Celestial Vindicator armor that looks somewhat like this. And it looks pretty fantastic. So what we're going to do now is going to take some black Templar and use this to colour in all of our black details. Now this is going to include areas like the soft joints in the armor. Just want to be nice and careful around here. Just like that. But what we also want to do is we want to use this black Templar to colour in areas like the Sigmarite, the visage of Sigmar here, on the shoulder, on the shield I should say. As well as on the shoulder pad here. So here we are, quick progress update on the unit. As you can see, they're all at the same level. What we're going to do, instead of highlighting all of that black, we are just going to colour in a few more base coats before we continue. Just wanted to get all that armour done at once so that we can then move on. So, one thing to point out is that for the black, what we've also done is we've coloured in the lightning bolt on the rest of the unit's shoulders as well. So just in here, as you can see. Similarly on that one there. This one doesn't have it because it's a prime, so it's got a lion shoulder pad. So what we're going to do, we're going to move these guys out of the way. And again, we're not worrying about that banner just yet. We're going to be doing that a little bit later. And so the first colour we're going to be, well, next colour we're going to be using is Apothecary White. I'm going to be using this for the shoulder pads. Not the lion one for the prime, but for this one, just here. Like so. Like that. Similarly on one of these. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Blood Angels Red, and we're going to use this to paint in a number of different details. So firstly, what we want to do is we want to colour in any of the little straps and belts and things like that around the model. So like that one there. We've also got the main belt itself. like so. What we also want to do is we want to use this Blood Angel's Red to paint in the soft grip on the weapons. And on the prime, the hair as well, or plume, I should say. And with that done, what we now want to do is we want to take some Darkoath Flesh and we want to use this to shade all of the leather details. So, for example, the scabbard down here, we want to apply this Darkoath Flesh over the top, like so. Similarly, on the belts and straps. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is going to move on and we're going to paint in the gold. However, just before we do, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have spotted that I've actually coated some of those extra details in the Akhelian Green. And this is because I found a pictorial reference for these guys. And it's on the side of the box. And yeah, these areas are the same colour as their armour. So I've actually gone through and I've done that. The only ones that were going to be gold are the ones on the shoulder pads. But the rest of them on the knees, the arms, the kind of chest area, and on the back as well, they are all going to be, they are all the same as that rest of the Akhelian Green. So just there, for example. So as I say, we're going to be using some Retributor Armour now to paint in all the gold details. Now this is going to be all of the remaining trim, so areas like this bit on the shield, like so. We also want to paint in the lion shoulder pad fully on our Liberator Prime, on our Vindictor Prime. And on the shield we also want to do the kind of lightning bolt design that goes around the outside in here as well. And for all others, it's just waiting to the next part to see all of the gold details. And with that done, what we're now going to do is going to use some thinned down Leadbelcher to paint in all of our silver details. And next up we're going to use some Skeleton Horde. And this is going to be for the paper details. Now there aren't that many, so we've got this one here on the spear. Do we want to colour in with the Skeleton Horde? Like so. Make sure we don't forget to paint all sides of it, of course. Like so. We've also got the one here on the shield. like so. And the other one we're going to do is on our banner. We've got this large one here. And with that done, your Celestial Vindicators should be looking somewhat like this. So there's only one kind of major base coat left to do, and that is the interior of their shields. And the colour we're going to be using for this is Cygor Brown. And what we want to do is we want to take this Cygor Brown on our brush, and we just want to first start on the underside of the shield, like this. Now don't worry if you get any of this on that gold, because we haven't shaded it and highlighted it just yet. It doesn't matter too much, because you can just go back and recover it if you need to. We want to get this Cygor Brown all over that inner working of the shield, as well as the straps and handle. Again, it doesn't matter too much if you've got some Akhelian Green on there, because the Cygor Brown will cover right over it. So with that done, this is where we've got to with our Celestial Vindicators. We haven't touched that banner just yet, and same for the two faces either. We're going to do those at the end. So realistically, we're mostly focusing on these three, but this is of course going to be used across all five. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take them to the next level by adding some shading. And the colour we're going to be using first is Fyreslayer Flesh. But I just wanted to very quickly give you a quick update as to where we are on our Celestial Vindicators. So we're going to get these guys all out of the way. And then we're going to start shading that gold. And the colour that we're going to be using is Fyreslayer Flesh. And really all we want to do is just want to be very careful kind of with how much we're using. But ultimately what we want to do is we want to get good coverage of this all over. Really work it into those recesses so we get that kind of really deep, rich gold. Just like that. And so with that Fyreslayer Flesh applied to all of our gold details, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Basilicanum Grey and use this to shade all of our Leadbelcher silver areas. And so with those shades applied, it's now time to start adding some highlights. And the first colour we're going to be using is Corax White. Now this one isn't so much a highlight, it's more of a relayering. What we want to do is over the top of our shoulder pads, so you just want to make them nice and bright, whilst just avoiding the recesses around the details. So like for example there, around the around the emblem on the shoulder and around the trim at the top. We also want to colour in that little rivet. Just like this. And with that done, what we then want to do is take some white scar and use this to highlight the edge of our shoulder pad and the rivet. Just like that. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Liberator Gold. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our gold. So what we're going to do here on the shield is we're just going to start picking out that kind of edge just there. It comes around the inside like so. But then what we're also going to do because of the size of the detail is then going to do quite a thick highlight around the outside. So I'm just going to come all the way up to just underneath those rivets with it. Just like that. Let's just neaten that up just a little bit more. Like so. And then of course, pick out each of those rivets. We're going to go around like this, around all of the gold, and then we're going to come back. So with all that Liberator Gold applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Iron Hand Steel. I'm going to use this to brighten up the silver. That's what we want to do on the male skirt, for example. Just want to pick out each of the plates. Like so. Similarly on the belt buckle, I'll just highlight up the edges. And on the blade, I also want to pick out the edges. And with that Iron Hand Steel applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Stormhost Silver and we're going to use this to highlight the silver details by just like picking out the very extreme edges, for example on the scale mail. Like that, just to make them extra nice and shiny. We also want to highlight the edge of the blade towards the tip. We don't want to do the whole thing, just want to make sure that that very tip of the blade is as sharp as it can possibly be. What we also want to do is we want to use a tiny amount of Stormhost Silver just to pick out the corners in the gold details as well. So, for example, just there on the shoulder pad, and there and there. Like this. to make it look extra shiny. So with that done, what we now want to do is we want to highlight all of our red leather details. The colour that we're going to be using is Jokaero Orange. So for example, just here on the belt, we just want to pick out those edges just there. Like so. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Dawnstone. I'm going to use this to highlight the black. And with that done, you should have some black details that look somewhat like this. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to very quickly take some Skrag Brown. I'm going to use this to highlight our shield innards. So for example, just there on the handle. And there on the strap. And then next up, we want to take some Screaming Skull. We want to use this to highlight the paper. And then next up, we want to use some Blood Angels Red, just a small amount, over the top of any of the little gems that you can find all around the Vindictors. So for example, some of them have them on their foreheads, like this Prime does here. They pretty much all have one on the shield, just there, like so. And they have them in the spears as well. So with that done, these three of our Vindictors, so in the colours of the Celestial Vindicators, are finished. We don't need to highlight the plume because that's the exact tone that we want. Same for those gems, they're also small that actually any highlights might detract from the shininess that they've got right now. So we're actually just going to leave those alone. So we can put these three to one side. And as you may have noticed, I've got Wyldwood and I've got Guilliman Flesh open because we're going to be doing two different types of skin tone on our helmetless Stormcast. Here they are. So what we're going to do first is we're going to use Guilliman Flesh on this guy. And the brush we're going to use is a small layer brush. Now what we want to do is we're going to take some Guilliman Flesh. We want to go reasonably quickly here. You want to have enough on your brush to kind of do it with one brush load. So what we want to do is we just want to make sure that we get it all over the face and pull it over really quickly. So we're going to start here, right by the beard, making contact with the model, and then we're just going to pull it all the way back. Make sure that we get that ear as well. Same across there. And same across there. Like that. Make sure that we get this ear too. Then we just want to make sure that we clear in that last little bit on the back. We want to go nice and quickly there because we don't want any lines to appear in the middle of the face. And we can just quickly use the brush to just mop up any excess if you have any. Just catch any details you might have missed. So I've missed a little chunk just there. Perfect. Then we can just grab a little bit more. We can use this on his lip. Just there, in amongst the beard. So, with that done, what we're now going to do, we're going to do a darker skin tone on this lady here. The colour we're going to be using for that is Wyldwood. That's lots easier when there's hair, because you don't have to make sure you don't get any of that kind of weird kind of light line drying. But what you do need to be careful of is that you don't have too much on your brush here. Because if you have too much on your brush, you can swallow up the details very quickly on the face. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some black Templar to colour in the beard and the hair. So we take the black Templar on our brush, we just very carefully start painting these details in. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Baneblade Brown to highlight our Wyldwood on this darker skin. Just like this. And with that Baneblade Brown applied, what we then want to do is we want to take a teeny tiny amount of Kislev Flesh and use this to highlight the sharpest points in the skin. Just like that. Similarly here, what we want to do is we want to take some Flayed One Flesh and use this to highlight his face. And with that done, what we then want to do is take some black Templar. We're going to use this to block in his pupil. And by pupil, I mean the whole eye. Just like that. And with that done, what we want to do is we want to take some Screaming Skull and we want to add a dot of this either side of the middle of the eye. Like so. So with that done for both our faces, as you can see, what we're now going to do is going to highlight their beard and the hair with some Dawnstone. And then lastly, just to finish off his beard, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Administratum Grey. Just add a few little tiny spot highlights in the moustache and towards the front. Just like that. So with that done, we've got ourselves another finished Celestial Vindicator. So we're going to put her to one side. And what we are going to now do is work on this banner. Now, as far as I can make out from the product photography on the Hammers of Sigmar, the way that they've done this is that you have basically this face on the banner match up with the symbols on the shoulder pads, and the field matches up with the, well, field of the shoulder pad. So in the Hammers of Sigmar case, this is white and this area here is blue. Now, because we've got Celestial Vindicators, that would indicate to me that this needs to be black and this needs to be white. And on the back here, this area needs to be black and this needs to be white. So that's what we're going to do. It might change in the battle tome, but we'll see. So first color we're going to use here is Basilicanum Grey, because this is quite a large detail and we want to get a pre-shade on there for the black, so we get a nice consistent dark black. So we take the Basilicanum Grey first and we're going to paint this all over Sigmar's face, coming out to there. Make sure to just pick up those little triangles as well. And with that done, don't worry if it's a little bit patchy, because it's now going to be covered over entirely with some black Templar. And with that done, you should have a banner that looks somewhat like this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use some Apothecary White. I'm going to use this to colour in the field, or at least the dial area. Just like this. So with that done, we've done the corners and we've done the edge as well. I don't think I mentioned that in the last clip. Same on the back, corners and the edge. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use some thinned down Retributor Armour to paint in the border bit on this front part of the flag. As well as the little gem in Sigmar's forehead. And with that done, what we now want to do is use some Fyreslayer Flesh once again to shade our gold. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to add some highlights, and the colour that we're going to use first is Dawnstone, and this is to highlight all of the black. And so with that done, what we're then going to do is take some Administratum Grey. We're going to add a little spot highlight on the sharpest corners where we've just added our Dawnstone. So for example, just here on the curves. And with that done, we want to use some Corax White to highlight the white. Just like this. And then next up, we're going to highlight the gold with some Liberator Gold. And next up, we're going to use a tiny amount of Blood Angel's Red on the gem in Sigmar's brow. Just like that.
And there we have it. Our 5 Vindictors in the livery of the Celestial Vindicators are now finished, ready to take to the realm of Gur and hunt the beasts that dwell within, and possibly some swamps as well. It was a lot of fun to do. I really enjoyed making that armor tone. I think it is absolutely spot on. The Akhelian Green glaze over the top of Akhelian Green really does the trick here. It's not too dark, it's not too bright, and absolutely just looks perfect to my eye. I also really enjoyed making that flag. It was a good fun guessing game for a while, but basing it off of what the Hammers of Sigmar livery does, I think we've got it right. And if you'd like to see how I did the bases, you can check out the How to Paint Desert Bases video that is coming up very shortly. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, like these legends and bosses that you can see on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.